It's time for our 100th Word of the Week. This week we're going to take a look at Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. First we'll read it in the ESV and the King James to look at two different ways that two words are phrased. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. That's the ESV. Now let's go to the King James. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So we're primarily concerned today with conviction and evidence, but we're also going to take a look at assurance and substance. The entirety of the verse is interesting and worthy of us taking a careful look at the whole thing. We're going to break it into two halves, and let us begin with the first. Estin de pistis elpidzomenon hypostasis. So, estin de, but it is. But what is pistis? Our subject is pistis, faith. But faith is. And then we have to go to the last word, hypostasis, because it is also in the nominative case. We're getting a predicate nominative here with estin, pistis, and hypostasis. Faith is assurance or substance of what? Of things being hoped for. Elpidzomenon is a passive participle of things being hoped for. But let's take a look at our word of the week, our first word of the week, hypostasis, assurance or substance. Substance is more literal because if you look at the word hupo, under, and stasis, standing. Standing under. But it's important for us to distinguish that from understanding. We are not talking about understanding as a process in one's mind. We're talking about standing under, substance, in the sense that we are beneath, we are planted standing beneath something. Now the origin of this word is kind of crazy. It's a medical term from ancient Greek, and it has to do with urine samples. So a urine sample would be collected, and when the sample is collected, it just looks like urine. But if it's allowed to sit, sediment will settle to the bottom. And what that is at the bottom is substance. It's literally that which is standing underneath the bulk of the sample. And it tells the doc that there's something wrong, right? If there's this sediment that has settled down to the bottom, it is hupo, under, stasis. It's standing under the bulk of the sample. It is the sediment at the bottom. It's how we know that there's something in the urine that doesn't belong. Substance, assurance that you now see something that was not visible before. Pretty fascinating origin of the word. Let's go back to our word elpidzomenon. It's an objective genitive participle in the passive. Things being hoped for. Think about hope for a moment. Hope is always pre-realization. So if you're hoping for something, or if you're hoping in this case for things being hoped for, they're things that are desired but have not yet been realized. They're not manifest. So faith, we're told, is the substance, it is the assurance, it is the evidence for the thing that doesn't exist yet, the thing that is unyet realized. We're going to keep on hoping. In other words, faith in this verse, faith is the assurance that lets you keep on hoping for the thing that has not yet been realized. It's the endurance factor. It's what lets you keep on going. Let's go to part B of our verse. Pragmaton elenkos ou blepomenon. So pragmaton is practical things. From pragma, which comes from praxis. The book of Acts is praxis, right? The Acts of the Apostles. Pragma are deeds or actions. And when it's used to talk about generic things, it's just things. But they're practical things, like real things. So here we have elenkos is proof, conviction, or evidence. It's a word that means a trial. That's why conviction and evidence makes sense. It's about taking something and putting it to a practical trial to understand it better. This is the proof of a thing. Of what kind of a thing? Of a practical thing. And then we're given the modifier ou blepomenon, a passive participle of things not being seen. So what is the evidence for a thing that I cannot see? We're told it's faith, because notice elenkos is also in the nominative case. It's paired together with estine pistis, elenkos. It's a second predicate nominative. So in the verse, faith is two things. It is assurance or substance of things that we're hoping for, of things being hoped for, and it's also proof, conviction, or evidence of deeds that have not yet happened, deeds that have not yet been done. So the verse gives us this sort of magnificent notion about assurance or substance of hoped for things that have not yet been realized, and conviction or evidence of deeds or actions that have not yet come to pass. Things that are not seen or done until they are. So faith has these two parallel predicates, right? Hypostasis, assurance or substance, and elenkos, conviction or evidence, proof of things that haven't happened yet. If you read through the rest of Hebrews 11, you see these faithful people who are acting as if and until. Okay? Now, let me flesh that out a little bit more. What they keep doing in faith, and faith in that verse, in that chapter, is almost always a participle when we talk about the people and what they were doing. While faithing, like while exercising faith, ... they acted as if until. So they kept doing the thing as though it were going to happen until the thing that God promised happened, right? So they acted as if until the thing actually happened. It's pretty magnificent. They trusted in those promises despite not initially seeing the evidence, despite still holding on to hope, which is always a pre-realization, right? While holding on to that hope, they carried on as though the thing would happen. And then lo and behold, in all the stories, the great thing happens, right? So they proceeded as if until. So the antidote to doubt, while waiting for the pre-realization to be realized, while waiting for the unseen deed to be done, is faith in those two different words. What are our words of the week? Our words of the week are hypostasis, assurance, substance, standing under something, and elenkos, conviction or evidence, proof by trial of a practical thing, pragmaton, of deeds, of things. So those are our words of the week for our 100th episode of the Word of the Week. I hope that was good for you, and I hope to see you next time on Koine Corner and or the Word of the Week. And until next time, Charis Kai Irene Humin, grace and peace to you.